How should men and women treat each other? So the quick answer to the question, how should men and women treat each other, is as you want to be treated. Jesus himself gave us the golden rule. Do to others as you would have them do to you. Jesus valued mutuality in relationships. But you may wonder, is this standard ever mentioned again in the New Testament? Absolutely. Dozens of times. Here are just some examples of how God teaches men and women to treat one another. For example, love one another, forgive one another, accept one another, bear with one another, be devoted to one another.
Honor one another, greet one another, serve one another, be kind and compassionate to one another, don't grumble against one another.
Do not slander one another, build up one another, encourage one another, comfort one another, stop passing judgment on one another.
Stimulate one another to love and good deeds, carry one another's burdens, instruct one another, do not lie to one another.
Teach and admonish one another, confess your sins to one another, pray for one another, be hospitable to one another.
Live in harmony with one another, submit to one another.
Now the Greek word for one another is allilois. It means each other or one another. It carries the meaning of a reciprocal action, an equivalent attitude, or a back and forth situation.
The one another principles are best seen in the Trinity, since the three persons of the Trinity function in perfect harmony. They always prefer the other. While men and women cannot come close to demonstrating the actual way the Trinity relates to one another, we can at least try. Jesus said, I in them and you in me, so that they may be brought to complete unity. Then the world will know. That is found in John 17, where Jesus prays for the disciples and all those who would believe because of their message going out. Men and women who live in unity and display the one another principles will let the world know. This profound relationship model is a humble weapon in God's kingdom. Now remember that these directives, these one another directives, they're not masculine or feminine. It's not like there's a list given to men, these are the one another principles you are to follow, and another list for these are the principles that you are to follow as women. No, they are given to all disciples of Christ. And not only that, we want you to remember, it's not just between husband and wife. The one another principles are the principles that the redeemed family, the brothers and sisters of Christ, should model for the broken world.
Well, that's exactly right, because in the redeemed family, we look at the ideal, the fallen, and the redeemed family. How does the family treat each other? Well, treating each other as sister, mother, daughter, brother, father, son, this will clear up so much confusion of how we should treat each other. So much sin, so much brokenness exists in the world because of how men and women treat each other so poorly. There's abuse, there's pornography, trafficking, unfaithfulness, affairs, so many things. Maybe a new kingdom ethic would be something like this. How about this, guys? What if we think of and treat all females as either our sisters, our mother, or our daughter? How would we want our sister treated? How would we want our mother treated? How do we want our daughters to be treated?
And women, what if we think of and treat all boys and all men as our brothers, our dad, our sons? How would we want our brothers, dad, or sons to be treated? This is why that although we know that women have been so harmed in the world, but we should not be trying to have revenge on men. Rather, we as men and women should celebrate men. We should celebrate women because God creates them both for a very high purpose. If the redeemed family would live out the one another principles and treat each person as our family member, we could literally change the world.
Now, these one another principles are not just for mental thinking. They are actually spiritual weapons. The practical application of these one another principles may look different in different cultures. How a man loves or how a woman loves, how a man bears a burden or how a woman bears a burden, it may look different whether you're in Pakistan or China or Brazil. But this simple type of earth-shaking relationship will challenge the foundation of every world religion, of every culture. So, pick up your one another weapons and use them.
Take a few moments and ponder the one another principles. What do the one another principles teach you about the nature and character of God? What do these principles teach you about the nature of people? What is one another principle that you can obey today? And whom can you teach today about the one another principles? Until all know, run with it.